or let me go back a little bit, which is I think it's great that you're able, Rob, to create Braille mathematics, Nemeth mathematics, and we've got, I think it's great that you can create Nemeth mathematics from LaTeX input. I mean, the input has to be right, but you can create it. And you can also create the Braille for the surrounding text. And it strikes me, it's my idea and I'm not an expert, but it seems to me that there would be people on the blind math list and the people that support blind students who'd welcome that capability of being able to use Braille that contains mathematics without having a large degree of technical skill, for example, in particular without knowing Nemeth. I think there may be an interest in that.
Oh, yeah.
And to make that interest live, you'd ideally, from the user's point of view, make it an online service. And for that to happen, you'd really want to package everything and make it quite small. There's something called serverless, which is where you fire up a virtual machine just to do one thing. And it might be to produce Braille for a formula that's the quadratic formula. And it's now sensible to fire up a virtual machine or a KVM machine simply in order to render something into Braille. And these things scale really well. So if they're not used, they don't cost anything. And if they're used a lot, they are a bit more expensive, but you're grateful to have them used. So one of the things I'm interested in is packaging the PreTeXt system so that it has a small footprint. And one would like to still have the LaTeX output, if only so that the blind, if only so the sighted person could see what the blind person is reading.
Right.
You need it. And this relates to the Tiny Tech talk next week. And if we can get a working system down to 150 megabytes, for example, LaTeX and everything, then that is close to being deployable as a serverless system, and certainly much more. You don't like these massive downloads. There's a barrier to entry. So that would be the sort of thing I'd be interested in contributing in some way or the other to PreTeXt.
Yeah, so I correct you a little bit. I don't make Nemeth Braille, and I don't make any kind of Braille. MathJax makes the Nemeth Braille, and LibLouis makes, again, what I call the narrative Braille. And I just split the PreTeXt document into two pieces, and then I put it all back together again. And I say that because if you wanted to build a service that just took a batch of LaTeX and produced the Braille for that piece of math, like the quadratic formula, you can do that right now, because there's all those tools in MathJax to sort of run it offline. You don't need PreTeXt is what I'm saying, just to do the math. If you want to do a complete document, then you do need, it's kind of a 6-step pipeline. And, that's one of the reasons we're not pushing PreTeXt as hard as we could, is right now an author sort of needs to build like a bash build script to sort of manage their projects. We've got a couple of Python front ends, but they're still command line. We're working on making it easier, and what you described as this, PreTeXt as a service, that's certainly a desirable endpoint, but we're not there. We're getting there, but we're headed in that direction. So yeah, so certainly, Jonathan, if you want to, fiddle with MathJax, LibLouis, PreTeXt, those are the 3 building blocks, and maybe a Tiny Tech to see what you could get from PreTeXt source. There's 100 projects in PreTeXt, full on books that you could tinker with.